Way up at the tippity top of Alaska is Inuit land. And this stark part of the globe is home to some fierce mythical creatures. I'm Liz, this is 50 States of Folklore, and today I'm telling you about the Aklak. Okay, I hope it goes without saying, but apologies up front if I am completely mangling the Inuit pronunciations. I promise you, I tried really hard to find the right ones. But if you are Inuit or you have better knowledge of the language, please stitch this baby, I want to learn! Aklak is one of the Inuit terms for brown bear. But in older legends, the Aklak is a bear man with a taste for humans. The monster is extremely strong, able to throw aside the heavy piles of stone that the Inuit bury their dead under in order to scavenge the corpses underneath. And like bears, you can't outrun an Aklak. While the beast wasn't as intellectual as man, it could communicate in some of the common language, and it was able to use tools. So, as my friend Matt would say, it may be friend-shaped, but it is not your friend. And that is very hard for me to say, because if you've been here a long time, you know, I fucking love bears, guys! The folktale goes that there was a community that was being hounded by an Aklak. A hunter and shaman named Upam figured he could handle taking down this beast. And he was so confident, he decided to use himself as bait. Upam had himself buried in the frozen tundra, and eventually he heard the sound of rocks scrape above him as the stones were thrown away by a mighty hand. He bravely played dead when the enormous Aklak scooped him up out of the grave and threw him over his shoulder. On their journey back to its lair, Upam hoped to drain the beast of its energy by creating resistance as they walked. He would grasp branches and rocks whenever they brushed by some, in hopes that the Aklak would have to tug a little harder to free him. When they arrived at the Aklak's igloo, the exhausted creature let the man fall from his shoulders. Upam laid still, but it was here he had his first real twinge of fear. For he realized he was hearing the mumblings and movement of more than one beast. His mind raced as he tried to rethink his plan to include more than one monster. He startled, however, when he felt hot breath on his face. His eyes flew open to find two Aklak cubs sniffing all over him. The cubs startled too, and scuffled over to their father, who was still snoozing in exhaustion. The papa bear waved his cubs away, giving Upam time to grasp an axe that was leaning against the door. And the Aklak was taken down by the blade before he could even open his eyes. Upam dashed past the cubs, but saw that their mother was in his path. She was tending to a bag of animal fat by the fire. Upam tried to land a blow on her before she could notice him, but his aim was off. The axe burst the bag of lard, and the mama Aklak growled in surprise. She whirled towards Upam, who ran away as fast as he could. And the only reason he got away was because the mama bear decided not to worry about him for the moment. She had valuable food to regather, and she knew she could outrun him even with a head start. Upam knew at this point that the only power he had over an angry mama Aklak was the power of the land. So after gaining quite a bit of distance, he forced himself to stop, calm down, and focus. He breathed in slowly and pointed down at the land. When he felt the land connect to him, he drew a long line in the snow, leapt over it, and called out for help. The land obliged, and the ground opened up behind him into an angry river. When the mama bear caught up, she snorted angrily at the rapids separating them. "How did you manage to cross?" And Upam shrugged. "I didn't cross it. I drank it all up, and I spit it back out again." The Aklak scrutinized Upam, who was nothing in size compared to her. So if he could do it, she could. She leaned over, and keeping a fierce eye on Upam, she began to drink. The beastly lady was able to drink quite a lot, but an entire river was far too much for her. Her body began to expand, bigger and bigger, and then it began to grow transparent. After what seemed like ages, she dematerialized completely, spreading out over the river in a thick mist. The Aklak's death had created the first fog, and misty rivers conjure up Upam's death-defying story to this day.